nerve-wracking to drive on, I'll tell you. You're doing construction on this road here. It's cutting through an old wilderness, an old forest. And this is the town of La Grande, Oregon. I've never been here. Well, maybe I have with my grandfather many, many years ago. And it looks like this is the scenic stop here. There's a railroad line there. There was a sign for a Safeway. I need to get some more gas and basically rest. That pass 10 miles before La Grande, when it dipped down, I would have loved the film, but let me just say that was some intense energy to drive through, and I need to basically take a breather after that. Downtown La Grande, Oregon. Zen and the art of posting to WordPress at a rest stop somewhere in Eastern Oregon. Internet device right there, just outside of Baker City. I consider myself to be a pretty sensitive person to energy in general. And so when I go through some of these areas, you know, where the altitude goes up and down, and spiritual centers, vortices, and you can have high and low energies in those places, I feel it, and I feel it right in the heart, I feel it right in my body. And I also think that we can go through a release or a clearing, and that could seem really chaotic when it's happening. Obviously, other human beings, traveling while human, through this terrain, have felt a need to stop. See, there's something spiritual about traveling through America. There truly is. There is more than meets the eye when it comes to this experience. I'll tell you that much. You know, I saw a sign as I was thinking about this stuff, as my thoughts were peaking on this topic, and it said that I was passing through the 45th parallel. When you have certain cities that are running through some of these parallels, you have a concentration of certain energies. And so when you cross out of those zones and you get out of those vortices, it feels really different. Looks like we've got some hail. Baker City Center Historic District. Exit 304. I feel like I'm already out of Oregon, but I'm not. So Eastern Oregon, you know, reminds me of a lot of places in America. Just the west side of the state where the population is really dense, it's really wet. And, you know, it's when you get outside of that west part of the state, you get to other places that, you know, it's more like America. See the mountains up ahead? This reminds me of Colorado already. You know, I don't need a lot of elevation, just enough. Looks like there's a sports shop over there. There's a Goodwill, or there's a Salvation Army nearby. I think it's that way. I'm looking for it. Some sort of an old school church. Saw some sort of a tourist shop depicting this place as a ghost town. I remember having a map of Baker City in the 80s. It looked real colorful. Well, this is Baker City in 2015. Small town. References to it being a ghost town. A lot of Wild West energy. We're in Eastern Oregon. I know my grandfather spent a lot of time in Eastern Oregon. He liked it here. But yeah, not a town I would really live in. Wherever you go, the issues are still the same. As long as people are living under the current system. Okay, so the Salvation Army should be pretty close by. Just wanted to give you a brief little shot of Old Town Baker City, the historic district as they call it. Cody's General Store. Coffee, ship, and mall. got some interesting looking clouds here. So I'm at the other side of Baker City. I found the thrift store, and there's a Dairy Queen there. You can see the unique architecture. Some sort of a school here, a lot of institutional, darker energy here in this field. There's a lot of odd energy, old energy to Oregon that I'm looking forward to getting away from, and I was happy to get away from it before. It doesn't mean there isn't old energy in some of these other states. It's just I need change in my own life. I'm gonna go inside the thrift store and see if I can find something cool, like a propane heater or something I can use. Okay, I'm gonna shoot a little video in Idaho. And we're right out of Emmett. So this is a water area that we're looking at now. There's a dam back that way. A lot of farmland. This part of Idaho reminds me of a mix of like the best of Oregon and Colorado. You have the mountains, you have the mesas, you have people living off well water, and the water's really good here. You don't have a really high population. The population that you do have, a lot of them are farmers. Not all of them, but a pretty good chunk. And you have a mix of different climates. You have more sun. And so you're getting that moisture coming over from the northwest and elsewhere. Boise has definitely been affected by the mass exodus of Californians. And there's quite a few of them that are setting up shop in the Boise area. This is definitely some beautiful country. Down here, they're building a new bridge because the old bridge, I was just told, the old bridge was burned down. It's normal for people to burn the weeds. It's natural, you know. So you burn it away so you don't have a problem. But sometimes you can burn too much. You can burn down your little county bridge road, and that's what we see here.
What they're doing. True Value's getting a new building put on. They tore down the old one.
See, that's why in Colorado, somebody to come out and dig me an underground shelter.
That guy's going fishing. Head towards the river.
He's going fishing. Some people are going fishing, some people are going kayaking, some people are repairing bridges that were accidentally torched by people just trying to do a good deed and burn out the weeds.
I'm gonna park out in front.
And we got a True Value here, so they have more than one hardware store. This thing's moving. Things are happening. Things are shaking. Okay. Somebody's got a baby over there, one in the oven.
This place here's a bar they've been fixing up for a while now.
Oh, okay.
Open it up with a whistle pig.
The whistle pig.
Spend lots of money on that.
Piggy, piggy, wiggy. We have a little independent computer store. You know, I noticed in Baker City, Oregon, many local businesses side by side. I'm just not used to seeing it. There's no Walmart here. Is that correct?
No Walmart here.
No Walmart.
Nope.
Looks like they've got some sort of a water tower over here.
Yeah, it's the old water tower for the city.
Full of extra alcohol and whiskey in case they have an emergency. And we've got the ultimate beauty experience. We have reached our destination. I'm gonna go get my hair done as well as my skin. I'm gonna get a little tan, and I'm gonna get the full pamper treatment here. And then we have the Idaho Youth Ranch. This is the thrift store that I'm about to check out. Overlooking the area around Emmett, Idaho. E-M-M-E-T-T. High school over there. There's an area over there where golf courses across America buy their sand. Oregon is over that way. There's a couple buttes over here. This area gets their water from those mountains. More mountains over here. This is a road that goes to Boise. It's 25 miles away. I'll be checking that out soon. So they get a lot of water here. Obviously, there's a lot of vegetation. There's a lot of agriculture, a lot of fruit trees, a lot of alfalfa, a lot of hay. A lot of things growing here in this little Idaho town and elsewhere in America, elsewhere in Idaho. But you can see the color. So yeah, I'm actually really digging this area where the sun meets the dirt, meets vegetation, meets the mountain. There's even some rivers out here, which we were looking at earlier, which I might get a closer look at later. So while I might not have an interest in living in Idaho, it's not a bad place to visit And for people that are hardcore about their farming goals and being around water, it's definitely one of those places to consider. There's just something about this region that's a little different than other places that I've been. Some people go to the fair, get scared, go on those rides. Some people just subscribe to the youtube.com/AlexAnswery channel. Today's day and age, people have choices. I have theories as to why some people are drawn to actually live in certain parts of the plant that have nothing to do with demographics. Nothing to do with what kind of grocery store is there. Is the food organic? Are the women nice? Are the men nice? I mean, that plays a part, but I think there are other areas, issues, factors, why some people enjoy being in certain areas, even if they don't necessarily enjoy the other people that are there. They're like drawn there, like magnetically. They're magnetically drawn to certain places. At the same time, people are also really turned off by certain places, and they can't wait to get away from it. So sometimes it seems like we're sucked into the volcano and then spat back out in this life experience, in the oscillation of one's life, the ups and downs. I definitely was drawn back to Portland, or lured back, one could say, for another lesson in life, and then literally like spat out. There's a lot of rivers here, a lot of kayaking here, a lot of fishing here, there's a lot of boating here. So there's a lot of mix of different things that are kind of, I would say, centering in this, I don't even know what words to use, basin, plateau. It takes time to actually unravel, you know.
Cherry trees. It's all cherries. It's
Okay.
loaded in June. It's gonna be full of cherries, man. You gotta come back for the big cherries.
You convinced me. There's a lot of fruit here. I did not know about all the different fruit that grows here.
Lots for sale right here to the right.
How much do they go for?
I don't know. 2 left.
208-371-7643. Railroad crossing here. Okay, there's some chickens on the property that I'm visiting, and there's also a bunny right there. One thing I notice about chickens in the country, especially if they're in clean quarters, they are a lot more colorful. Their feathers are a lot more colorful and just vibrant in general, as opposed to just other conditions that I've seen chickens unfortunately living in. And these are goats. They're kind of like freaking out, but yeah, it's feeding time, and so these are definitely healthier animals. Okay.
Okay, so this is a compost pile that's been we've been working on for I don't know, 6 months or so. Last fall we started it. It's got all the manures, the horse, the goats, the chickens, the rabbit even. all the bedding, all that stuff goes in there, plus all the scraps from extra, vegetables from the garden, extra greens, anything that gets pulled out in the fall, it all goes in there. And so it's been breaking down, and that's what's going to go into the wood chips. So there's a great video everyone should check out who wants to grow this type of garden. Go Back to Eden, and you go to their website, backtoedenfilm.com, and you can watch the video. It's amazing. So we started doing this 3 years ago, and it's so much easier to grow food. This new batch of wood chips here, this was just spread out this year, so this won't be broken down fully for a few years. The dark ones here are 30 years old that we had brought in by a local farmer. And so these are ideal for growing right now. We've been growing here for 2 years. It looks dry on top, but when you dig down, I mean, look at this. This is where it's at. And then the topsoil layer is right there. So it's about 4 inches deep. And that never dries out. So you use less water, and the roots go crazy. The roots spread out about 5 feet in diameter on our tomatoes especially. Tomatoes have huge root systems. Everything loves this. The water that flows in from the canals, there's no power needed. So it all slopes down into these little bathtubs.
And a lot of people are dependent on power, especially in farming.
Sure, but there's no power here. It's all gravity. Same thing here. This is its own little bathtub. It's got a berm here that keeps it separate from the rest of the garden. So this gets flooded out in the peak of summer.
Okay, so it goes all the way down there.
To the pasture, yeah. So this pipe comes in from the ditch and waters the garden, and then ultimately ends up in the pasture, which is the low spot. So that's the idea. The gravity pulls it all the way down to the pasture for the animals. But first it goes through our garden. The river that flows by here, it provides plenty of water in the growing season. So this whole valley is based on this system.
So the water's been released right here. And now the ditch on the other side is being filled up.
We block off that one so all this water fills out.
And here it is. We're about another block away. The water's working itself down.
Ditch down there. Actually, look at right here. That tanks is stopping all the junk. For the most part.
This is where we should have our rake. Can you run down, Dylan, please, and get a rake? It's just something like a fork, even pitchfork.
And what do you hide in here?
This is showing. Yeah. So clean out at the turn point.
And we're another block away.
Now this is as full as it can get. That's when I will start going.
Okay, he's opening up the pipes. It's been about an hour and a half since this process started. And now the water's going to come through here. Apples, pears, apricots, peaches, and plums. All in this young orchard plot right here. Alright, so the water is incrementally starting to fill up this area that he's released from this irrigation system that he set up, and it doesn't require power. And over the course of a few hours, as I've been told, this whole thing will fill up, and there's basically a network to releasing different sections of it and letting it basically over time fill up with water, and we'll be looking at the results of that in a few hours. Actually, these goats are living better than some people. We've got a little mound up there. Much nicer than Lorhurst Park in Portland. And they also have their own tree. That's right, I've got a tree right there. So these are not being raised for meat. I don't even know if they're actually mostly manure for the garden. That's it. They've done a lot of work towards building up their manure for a massive garden they're building. And the goats played a big part in the manure. Now they have a horse. A lot friendlier than the goats that I visited in Boring, Oregon. It's because they're at a higher altitude. They like it up here. So be careful. You're blessed too. And now you got all this water here. That's all the way at least up to those trees over there. It's their greenhouse. Being in this way got me thinking maybe I should try to get a greenhouse built first when I get out to Colorado and get some land, and then from there expand.
A little brown trailer. That's the same thing you had. That's a Harbor Freight frame, just like
Oh,
yours.
really?
4x8. Yeah, check it out.
And this is all lumber that you came across as well?
Bartered with a friend.
Okay. Okay. Posts. A lot of good posts. Posts of different kinds, different shapes. A lot of options. Taking another look at this wood pile I came across. People might have different ideas for things they would do. This is, when you come across this stuff for roofing, then you got the square-shaped wooden options. Things like this. Pretty close. Good stack, already cut. Looks like it's 24 inches there, 36 inches there. And then you got the 2x4s, longer. Looks like some 2x8s. Yeah, those Harbor Freight trailers, they get around, don't they?
Here it is, man. It's funny, when you put that video out, I knew we had this, I thought, that's his.
Oh, wow.
That's your space right there.
Now, this is not the 1720 pound capacity, I can tell right away. This has a bar here.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing a reinforcement bar on the other.
Okay, it says right here, actually, 1170.
1170. So that's good. So you could, you know what? I wonder what would make a good tent-like, but better than a tent, but lightweight shelter for on the go. I don't know, it's pretty ghetto. Anyways,
Ghetto, man.
it was a nice thought for the apocalypse.
It's great for hauling branches. It's a dump.
You know what? This one's halfway there. I'm at a Bi-Mart in Emmett, Idaho, and I always like to take a look at, the random things that they have in their camping section. And looking at different sections in different areas gives people an idea of what they might want to get or have on hand. Mountain House freeze dried at the average price of about $6.50 for lasagna. One thing I'm gonna get later on as they become cheaper is some more of these. Maybe get a couple of these, which I've had over the years. But you know, when you travel a lot, things get lost. Starting to think more about making pizza, things out of bread. So as I get more situated, you know, these Dutch ovens have a lot of value. Or things like that. Or you can really even make an oven out of something like this. Cover it up and cook away. Here's the Mr. Buddy heater. And it's sitting here. It looks like they keep going through a slight redesign every couple of years. So this one over here, which has a higher amount of BTUs, it's going for about 129. It's also right next to a meat grinder. So there's a couple off the grid tools, basically, if you will. This is a decent multi-purpose portable propane outdoor cooker. Couple of stoves here. Butane. Butane is indoor safe. So they have these at the Asian markets. In Portland, there's a lot of these. And so they'll have like cans, like 3 for 10. This is the mini Mr. Buddy. Okay. So I'm going to wait on the heater.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to spend 100.
No.
And that runs about 20. There's another one. RV toilet treatment.
I've got some of that for you.
Okay. So they've got a mix of different things here. And then going back over here, I'm gonna have to get another hose at some point. I could find, you know, something more affordable, but online it's about the same.
Yeah, essentially that's it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Run in stuff running into a little similar.
Also, something that I'm gonna have to pick up at some point. You know what? This might be the time. Egg carrier.
I use egg cartons myself.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, wait.
We got lots of egg cartons.
Glamorized plastic.
Yeah.
Designed for quick sell. My special purchase today is 2 7-gallon BPA free water containers. Perfect for being in an area that's not a whole lot of running water. These can be used for a lot of things. Okay, so what I've done here is I've taken my solar panels, 250-watt solar panels, grand total of 100 watts there. And I got this off Craigslist for about $100 last September of 2014 in Portland. So the cost of solar has gone down. So for those of you that haven't yet got some panels or gone off grid or live without conventional electricity, this is a good time to get some panels, do some experimenting, make sure everything works. Okay, so normally you don't want to use a really long cord, but this isn't giving us any problems. I'm getting a full reading. I've got the batteries topped off. It connects up into here. This is the receiver. I'm not going to go over electrical stuff. I'm not going to go over technical stuff. Some of you are a lot more familiar with the stuff than I am, the specific terminologies. But other than the basic positive, negative, this being positive, this being negative, we're not going to get too technical. This has already been adapted. We're going to be going back and forth. Okay, now this is a charge controller. And I have this strategically placed under the seat in the kitchen area of this RV. So it's been, it's not even mounted down, and it doesn't really need to be. Over here, I have the inverter mounted to the wall, and I have the wires going in through here. Coming out down there. And so the inverter connects to the battery through the positive, negative cables down there. And so the power from the sun, the power from the solar panels is coming up through this cord right here. We've made a few drillings to make way for our cords. There's actually a total of 5 cords, and we're going to go over this. I'm going to do the best I can to explain this, and I hope this is helpful to some people out there. So you can see how easy this is. Of course, once you get it wired up, once you get it installed and you get the necessary things screwed in. This is the power from the sun right here. And on the other side of this is a plug-in, as you saw. And it comes in here, positive, negative. Now, when you're dealing with white and black cables, the black cable is positive and the white cable is negative. Okay? In this case, anytime you have a red and a black, the red is the positive, the black is the negative. Okay? The red is the positive, the black is the negative when dealing with red and black. When dealing with black and white, the black is the positive, the white is the negative. I hope that makes sense. So we have the power from the sun coming in through this cord that's been adapted. And we have 3 sections here. This is one brand of charge controller. It is the NetMeter Solar LCD30. And if we type all that into YouTube, a basic tutorial will come up. Basically explain how this works. This is a leftover tool, really, from the project on the trailer. And I'm now incorporating it into the RV. So the power comes in from the sun into here, and there's a little picture there of solar panels, so you get a visual. Solar goes in here, positive, negative. Okay. Now here, it goes after it's regulated. It sends the proper amount, not too much. It sends the proper amount of juice out to the battery. And so I'm going to get here a little closer. See that solar panel? You can barely see it. That's a picture of a solar panel. That's a picture of the battery. So in this middle section, we'll call this section 3 and 4, or slot 3 and 4 out of 6. This is going out to the battery. Okay? This is the battery. I only have this connected to one battery, not 2. This is the aux battery for the motorhome. So this is actually charging, believe it or not. It will power the lights in there, but not a whole lot. So I'm not really going to connect this to the aux system. It's going to be independent, even though this tray holds 2 batteries. These are 2 different systems. This system is connected to the motorhome. This system is connected to the solar only. I also have another marine grade battery. It doesn't seem to hold a charge very well. So what I'm doing is I'm basically only connecting this to one battery. If I get more batteries later on, maybe I'll rotate out the batteries. If one gets drained down at night and I'm giving it a lot of usage, the one that's charged, for example, could be put on here. It doesn't take long to unscrew this, uninstall this, and whatnot. So, this is the positive, this is the negative, and as you can see, it's been fastened down here. This is an add-on because this was loose before, and this could definitely cause an ungrounding situation. This can cause some sort of a short if this were to fall and hit this in the wrong way and cause a problem. So basically we have the positive here and the negative here. So this is how the battery is being charged. The solar panels are going in to the charge controller, and the charge controller is spitting out the juice to the battery. Now, here is how I get power for the computer or what other appliance I may have that's within the appropriate wattage. Here's how I get power. Okay. Today these cords were just installed. The inverter was just installed. And it was mounted at a convenient place, so not too far from the desk. And I can add something, of course, to this. For example, something like a surge protector or other device could be added to this if there's multiple things to plug in. Of course, there's much better inverters than this. As time goes on, I'll probably get more inverters. With this particular inverter, which is available at Walmart for $40, you want to get backup fuses. And the cool thing about backup fuses being on the inverter is you can change them out. There's some inverters from Harbor Freight where if you accidentally confuse your positive for your negative, maybe you're connecting a battery in a low light situation and you make an accident, well, the thing's going to blow. The fuses are going to blow. And I've had that happen to me many times. So you want to make sure you don't get your positive and your negative confused. If that does happen, in some cases, it is repairable if you have backup fuses. So with the inverter here, this is going to make things a lot more convenient. We've got the wiring right here. Comes out through here, and through here, and down there. It connects to the battery. So we have a total of 5 cords. So going over the options here, we're at 100%, 13.9 volts. It's taking in about 3.2 amps at the moment. And so there's different kinds of charge controllers, but to have something where you can push a button and it'll show you different things, that's definitely something that can help you quite a bit. Now, there's a 6th slot here, 5th and 6th. This would go out to an extra wiring system. So this, for example, could turn on and off your lights. So you can have an extra system running off of this, maybe a 12 volt. I had a little system running off of that in the microhome on wheels. So I'm not going to be adding an extra system because this motorhome already has a system. These, for example, these lights are running off the aux battery. Okay. So that is a separate system. So being that I don't really have a lot of devices, here is one computer and I have another computer. And I was actually charging 2 computers at once on this very desk. This is also something I picked up from Harbor Freight for about 30 bucks. So when I'm in a situation where I can charge my batteries manually, it's definitely a good thing to do. It's not always easy when in the city or traveling to just pull out your solar panels on the side of the road and charge them. But I'll tell you what, these have been out here all day flat. It's about 9 or 10, and they've been doing really, really well. Seen the sun come up from here, and we got a little haze going on today, so it's not a perfectly clear day, but at least 85% clear. These have been flat here, and they've given a pretty decent charge. There is a longer cord we've been using, and I didn't lose any power by using a longer cord, but it is recommended to use shorter cords to retain the power. And that makes common sense. But if I'm going to be stationary for a long period of time, the goal would be to get to the top of the motorhome and basically find a place for them here. In the summertime and during seasons where there's a lot of light, it's not a big deal to just leave this flat. It's when it's when you're getting less light, when it's winter, when the sun sets a little earlier, that's when it's more important to get at the right angle with the sun. And there's different attachments, things that one could add. I don't have one right now. So right now I'm just doing it flat. And this is the internet that I've been using, the Verizon Jetpack prepaid. I get about 10 gigs for 90 bucks. It's a horrible deal. I've used up quite a bit of it in about a week, and I am looking for other options. But the positive aspect of Verizon is you can travel the country, and it's available in quite a few places because there's more cell phone towers. So it's definitely a deal with the devil, dance with the devil, and I'm definitely still looking for other options and suggestions. And these are some zip ties here to keep it all nice and neat. There's the 5 cables coming out through the holes that have been drilled. And now I'm going to connect these. These have been measured out to be the proper length. Okay, so we've got the inverter pulling power from the battery, and the battery is receiving power from the solar panels via this white and black cord here. Okay, you normally don't see black and red together, but in this case, because of the pairing, because of how this works, everything is just fine. This is all set to go. This is all set to be pushed back. So I can do that with my knee. Turn that there. Okay. Yeah, we can see that's charging there. So basically, the maintenance for this mostly the plugging in, the connecting, the disconnecting, it's all done right here in this region. This is the Black Canyon Dam. Water's looking pretty high too. Warmest day of the week right now. It's in the early 80s, I'd say. About 3:30 in the afternoon. Going to do some non-whitewater kayaking, which is a good place to start since I've never kayaked. Wow. Yeah, look at that water. You can take the person out of Babylon, but can you surgically remove the Babylon out of the person? It's a case-by-case basis. I'm actually filming with the camera strapped behind my head. People should really contemplate how their environments and their lifestyles and their diets and their thoughts impact and create their reality. And that's one thing that I've learned in my journey, changing my reality, changing my diet, changing my routine, changing my environment, changing literally where I am on the planet. And a lot of people fall into these habitual mindsets, behavioral tendencies towards conformity, towards being susceptible to mind control, towards encouraging others to live a slave-based lifestyle. These are all things that are wrong inherently. It's inherently wrong to suggest that people remain in bad situations. So this is why it's important to travel and change up your environment, to change your perception. There's a lot of ways that people openly change their perception. Most commonly in our society with drugs and alcohol. Television. People love to watch scary movies, of course, but they don't really want to look at what's really going on in the world. So humanity has shown a desire to change things up within its own consciousness. But is it being done for the better on a collective level, on a large scale level, or is it being done in an unmindful way? Viewers of this YouTube channel shouldn't have to think very long about what the answer to that question is. So we need to challenge ourselves in the same way we might challenge ourselves at the gym, or while kayaking, or while hiking on a hot day. So hopefully you brought a bottle of water. Hopefully that proverbial bottle of water will be with us at all times as we try to hydrate our mind, body, and spirit so we don't overheat, combust, or explode from the tensions of our world, from the environmental factors that may be around us. With so many people living in cities, living in dense population centers that aren't getting in touch with nature, they're becoming programmed more and more, generation by the generation, to act in a less human way. And in fact, we're seeing more and more expressions of inhumanity within the larger whole. So changing up your environment, being out in nature, keeping yourself on the edge of your seat, tip of your toes, hydrating your mind, body, and spirit, these are all good things. Moments to just sit back and take in the silence. That's one thing that really is the adjustment for people that live in the city when they come out to rural areas. It's adjusting to the silence. That's why when you go camping, you see other people with their rigs and their mobile homes with their TVs out and their stereo systems. They can't handle the silence. And even me, I'm jibber jabbering here and there. Even it's difficult for me to handle the silence. But that's actually why I periodically go off grid and get out of the dense population centers, as I refer to them, to really tap into that silence and sound, mind, body, and spirit. So anyway, look at this mountain. One thing I noticed in my travels is the unique formation of the rocks in certain areas. And I was mentioning to somebody else then in Colorado, between Gunnison, Colorado and Alamosa, Colorado, there's a pass that you go through where a lot of the rocks look like hands praying. And it's really, really interesting because I haven't seen formation of rocks just like that. But over here we have some interesting shapes and designs, as well as what looks like some sort of a mining hole or cave right over there. Railroad. Fairly clear skies. This area is not immune to being affected by geoengineering, but the effects of geoengineering are far less than what you see in the larger cities. So that is nice. And that's one thing you see a lot of in Colorado and elsewhere in the Southwest is the sagebrush. Definitely a different experience. This is a lot easier to row than a lot of boats that I've been on in the past. All right, we have a nice little beach over here. Maybe we should try to survive for a week. Catch all the bugs and snakes that we need to eat. So this is a private bay, private dock bay, and they got a fire pit right up there. Picnic table. The sign says slow, children at play.
I guess that means us.
Doing a little paddling with the hands only. Right now we're just floating downstream back where we came. That's where we've been.